I came home that night, feeling like the heat from those cell towers had followed me straight through the front door. 14 hours in 95 degrees. I swear I could still taste the metal dust in my throat. My shirt was stiff with sweat. My hands were scraped, and every muscle in my back throbbed like it wanted to quit my body entirely. All I wanted was a meal, a plate, a sign that someone at home had thought about me for even 5 seconds. But the kitchen told me everything before Linda even opened her mouth. The dishes were already drying on the rack. The smell of spaghetti sauce hung faintly in the air, but the pots were clean. The kids were asleep. Every plate was put away, like dinner had happened in another universe, one I wasn't invited to. I opened the fridge, hoping maybe a container was tucked in the corner. Nothing. Just a barren shelf and an old jar of pickles staring back at me. Was there any dinner left? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Linda didn't even turn around. You're an adult, cook for yourself. I froze. I genuinely thought I'd misheard her, like maybe fatigue was playing tricks on me. What? She turned, face annoyed, and repeated, I'm not running a restaurant, Mark. I made dinner at 6. If you're not home by then, that's your problem. For a moment, the whole house felt strangely quiet, like the world wanted me to pay attention to this exact moment. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out at first. I was too tired to argue, too drained to even process the coldness dripping from her tone. I was working all day, I finally managed. I didn't choose to be out until 10, Linda. She shrugged. Your schedule is your choice. My choice. Like I chose 3 tower failures. Like I chose emergency calls. Like I chose to kill myself in the heat, so she and the kids never had to worry about bills again. The words I wanted to say sat like stones in my throat. That my overtime paid for this house, her car, the groceries she cooked for everyone, but me, Ryan's soccer cleats, Sophie's art sets, every school event, every bill, every comfort. But all I did was nod, because sometimes silence hurts more than shouting. I made myself a peanut butter sandwich, the sad, dry kind where you don't even have the energy to add jelly, and ate it standing over the sink, the kitchen light buzzing above me like a dying insect. Linda had already walked away. In that moment, the truth didn't hit me like a slap. It hit me like a slow, cold realization settling into my bones. For the first time since marrying Linda, I felt like a stranger in my own home, a visitor, an outsider, a wallet. And as I lay in bed later, staring at the ceiling, stomach half empty, body aching, I understood something terrifying. This wasn't about dinner. This was about value, about love, about the quiet ways someone can tell you don't matter, and I wasn't sure I could ignore it anymore. For days after that night, something heavy followed me around, like a weight behind my ribs I couldn't shake off. I kept replaying her tone, her shrug, the way she didn't even look at me when she dismissed me. And every time I tried convincing myself I was overreacting, something else reminded me I wasn't. The credit card bill with her $180 salon appointment, the $90 soccer cleats, the art haul for Sophie, the $1,200 she'd spent in 3 months, on little things that added up to a mountain, while I was told to figure it out when I needed new work boots, the way her mom talked around me like I was a visiting neighbor, the way Linda never asked how my day was unless it benefited her, the way I slowly realized, no one in that house saw me as a partner, just a paycheck with a pulse. So I decided to test something, not out of spite, not to play games, but because the truth was slipping through cracks in the floor, and I needed to see it clearly. I started doing everything exactly, the way Linda said. She told me I was an adult who should cook for myself. Fine. The next night, I bought groceries just for me. Real meals, good meals, steak, pasta, fresh veggies, stuff I hadn't cooked for myself in ages because I always prioritized feeding everyone else. I came home, seared a perfect steak, sautéed mushrooms, plated it beautifully, and sat down alone. She served the kids boxed mac and cheese at the same table, never said a word. When she woke up one morning and found I'd only made my breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and coffee, she blinked like something was glitching. Where's mine? She asked. I looked her dead in the eye. You're an adult. Cook for yourself. The same words, same tone. Same silence afterward. She didn't know how much that silence said. A few days later, she took the kids to see the new superhero movie. Tickets, snacks, everything. They came home laughing, happy, vibrant. I hadn't even known they left. She tried catching me in the hallway that night. "You didn't ask if we wanted to do something as a family," she said. I shrugged. "You didn't include me in your plans. I assumed you didn't want me there." Her lips pressed together, but she didn't argue. When Ryan asked me to help with his math homework, I gently told him to ask his mom. "I'm tired, bud, and she's available." He looked confused. Linda looked furious, but neither of them said anything. Then Friday came. She was cooking spaghetti for her and the kids, 3 portions, and I walked right past her, grilled myself a cheese sandwich, sat down and ate while the sauce simmered behind her. That's when she broke. "What is wrong with you?" she snapped. "Why are you acting like you don't live here?" I turned slowly, leaned my elbows on the table, and said quietly, "I'm just doing what you told me to do. Taking care of myself." Her face twisted, but not with understanding, not with remorse, with irritation. "You're being dramatic." I asked her what she meant the night she told me to cook for myself, why she said it, why she dismissed me like a burden. She couldn't answer. She couldn't explain the coldness. And that's when I knew she wouldn't, because she didn't see it. The moment she stopped needing me emotionally, she stopped valuing me. The moment I tested if she'd do for me what I'd done for her, she failed. Badly. And deep down we both knew why. I wasn't part of the family. I was the support beam. And support beams don't get affection. They just hold everything up until they crack. The more I pulled back, the more the truth came into focus. Sharp, cold, unavoidable. I checked our joint account again, $1,200 in 3 months. All for Linda and the kids. Entertainment, clothes, outings. Meanwhile, when I needed new work boots, the boots that literally keep my job possible, she told me to figure it out. And somehow, I had still been trying to convince myself this was normal. But something inside me finally snapped into place. I wasn't being loved. I was being used. So I met with a lawyer, not to pull the trigger yet, just to understand what would happen if I did. And the moment the lawyer explained the details, no shared kids, the house mine before. A marriage, a straightforward split. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Control, clarity, breath in my lungs that wasn't weighed down by guilt. "Talk to her," the lawyer said. "But don't expect change." I didn't. Not anymore. That night, I sat Linda down in the living room. No anger, no yelling. Just the honesty I'd swallowed for years. "I feel invisible, Linda," I said. "Not valued, not loved, just needed financially." She immediately rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic again. This is how families work. Calling your exhausted husband a burden is normal to you." She didn't answer. "When was the last time you asked how my day was?" I continued. "Not because you needed something, just because you cared." Silence. "When was the last time you planned something for me, made me feel appreciated, chose me over convenience?" More silence. "I asked what I contribute to this marriage besides money," I said, voice low. "You said I'm a good provider, and decent with the kids." She just sat there, arms crossed. "Is that all you see me as, a provider?" She hesitated, just long enough to confirm it. Then I asked a question that changed everything. "If I lost my job tomorrow, if I couldn't pay the bills for 6 months, would you stay?" Her face didn't show cruelty or anger, just truth, undiluted and devastating. She hesitated. A long, heavy pause that filled the whole room like smoke. That silence told me every answer she would have tried to hide. She wouldn't have stayed. Not for love, not for partnership, not for me. She would have left the moment I stopped being useful. I stood up slowly. "Thank you for your honesty, Mark," she started, but her voice faltered. "You're twisting things." "No," I said. "For the first time, I'm finally seeing them clearly." And that Friday, I filed for divorce. She was served at work, and that's when the screaming began. "You're throwing away our family over petty things," she yelled into the phone. "If they were petty," I said calmly, "you would have fixed them the first time I brought them up." She cried then, loud, frantic, panicked. She promised change, promised effort, promised dinners and affection and inclusion and all the things I'd begged for years. But her promises made everything even clearer. "You're only trying now," I said, Because you realized you're losing the life you built on my back. And she went quiet, because there was no lie she could hide behind. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't the one doing the explaining. I wasn't the one apologizing. I wasn't the one bending myself backwards to keep the peace. I was done, and the shock in her silence told me she hadn't believed I ever would be. After the papers were filed, everything moved faster than either of us expected. I slept in the guest room for a week while Linda cycled through every emotion like she was flipping channels. Rage, tears, guilt, denial, sweet talk, bitterness. She swore she would change, swore things would be different, swore she would cook, include me, appreciate me, be a better wife. But the thing that made it all so tragic was this. She proved she could have done those things all along. She just didn't, not until she had something to lose. I moved into a small apartment, nothing fancy, but it was mine. The first night there, with boxes still stacked on the floor, I sat on the couch with a microwave dinner and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, grounding, soul-deep peace. Meanwhile, the divorce process was brutally simple. We had no kids together. The house was mine before marriage. She asked for half. Her lawyer practically laughed in the meeting. She'll get $15,000 for improvements, which is fair. She packed her things in silence. I cow. LD tell she didn't know how to talk to me anymore, not the version of me that had finally grown a spine. The kids, that was the hardest part. Ryan asked if I wouldn't help him with homework anymore. Sophie asked if I was mad at her. Broke my heart. I knelt down and told them both, I'll always be here for you. I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving a marriage that wasn't healthy. And they understood, more than I expected. Weeks passed. I built a small life for myself. Simple routines that felt like breathing after holding my lungs underwater. Cooking dinner in silence. Inviting co-workers over on Friday nights. Watching movies I liked. Sleeping without tension in the air. Having my own space, my own peace, my own say in my own life. Funny thing, Ryan and Sophie started visiting, working on school projects at my kitchen table, laughing, relaxed, no tension, no walking on eggshells around their mom's moods. One day, Ryan looked at me and asked, "Are you happier now?" I didn't hesitate. "Yeah," I said, "I am." And he nodded like he understood exactly what I meant. Then Linda came by one afternoon to drop off some of Sophie's project materials. She stepped inside, looked around the apartment, and something in her face softened. "You seem lighter," she said quietly. "I am." She swallowed. "Am I a bad person?" I shook my head. No, just someone who got comfortable in a situation that benefited her, and never stopped to think if it was fair to me. Her eyes watered, but the truth hit harder than tears ever could. Intent doesn't erase impact, I said. She nodded slowly, like those words cracked something open. She told me she was working more now, talking about going back to school, trying to figure out the parts of her life she'd let me carry for years, and for once, it wasn't my load anymore. As she left, she paused at the door. Would things have been errant? She asked softly. If I'd changed earlier? I looked at her for a long moment. Yeah, I said. But you didn't. And that was that. No dramatic goodbye, no lingering what-ifs, just two people finally seeing the truth, and walking in different directions because of it. Now, I cook my own dinners. I sleep peacefully. I'm rebuilding who I am without feeling guilty for wanting basic respect. And for the first time in years, I'm not lonely. I'm not drained. I'm not invisible. I'm free. In the end, this wasn't a story about dinner. It wasn't about one bad night, one cold comment, or one forgotten plate. It was about years of quiet dismissal, years of being valued only for what he provided, years of loving a family that never truly made space for him in return. When he finally stepped back, when he finally treated himself the way they treated him, the truth surfaced fast and mercilessly. He was holding up a home that didn't hold him back. He was giving love to people who had grown comfortable taking it, and once he walked away, everything fell into place exactly the way it was always meant to. He didn't leave to punish anyone. He left to save himself, and sometimes that's the bravest kind of revenge, the kind where you don't destroy someone else. You rebuild you. Now he's living a life where peace isn't a luxury, it's the baseline. Where appreciation isn't begged for, it's natural. Where he's finally seen not as a wallet, not as a fallback plan, but as a human being deserving of love, respect, and partnership. And maybe the saddest, truest part of all is this: their marriage didn't fall apart when he filed for divorce. It fell apart the night she looked at her exhausted husband and told him to fend for himself. His final act wasn't vengeance, it was freedom.